So I'm Officer Kam, Tonawanda Police, obviously. I have brought one of my partners that I work with, Officer Santiago. I used to work with Officer Parrish. She is now protecting the kids at the school, so she is inside the building. We're still out on the road. I operate with K9 Sasha. She's coming up on a 2-year-old German Shepherd. We've been working together since April. I picked her up of this past year, April of 2024. Prior to that, I operated with K9 Stella, and I operated with K9 Stella for about 5 years. The reason for the short law enforcement career for K9 Stella is we purchased that dog when she was already almost 4 years old. So we got about the typical life expectancy out of a working dog. It's about 9 to 10 years is when you want to start the transition process to the next dog. So we did that successfully, and the way I planned it out was the city of North Tonawanda was never without a K9 at any point, because I modified my patrol car so I could carry both dogs with me. So I would carry my working dog, like my certified dog would be on the passenger side, and my dog that was in training was on the driver's side. This allowed me to train the new dog, but still be available in the event that somebody went missing, someone ran from the police, we needed to do a narcotic search warrant. I was still able to work and train simultaneously. And I was fortunate enough that the department allowed me to operate on a flexible schedule that allowed me to kind of perform all those duties the last 6 months. So for myself now, it's nice to just get back to being a cop again, where I'm just back, riding around the city, helping people out and getting to deploy the dog. So since K9 Sasha, she's certified in September 27th, it was a Friday, 27th or 29th, and since then we've seized about $55,000 worth of narcotics in a pretty short period of time. We just recently hit on over a kilo fentanyl pressed pills, and we did a traffic stop right in December, and we seized about $5,000 and 5 grams of cocaine from that individual. So just random traffic stop that we pulled them over, deployed the dog. She alerted to it when we found narcotics. So it was cool to see all that training pay off in a short period of time. Like, she already seized more than what she cost for us to get her up and running. So that was pretty cool in such a short period of time. What's fun with K9 is since we wear a lot of hats, being a patrol and narcotics dog, when I say patrol means not only can my dog sniff for narcotics, you can also bite the bad guy, which is the cool thing everybody likes to see. Statistically, it's the lowest amount of what we do with the dog. But we also do tracking, article search, building search, and area search. Basically, we use the dogs for their nose. That is our primary focus with them, is their nose. That's their best asset to us. Their teeth would be their secondary. So we spend a lot of time training. We train every Wednesday with about 6 to 7 individuals. It's the Niagara County Sheriffs, Lewiston, Town of Tonawanda, Parks Police, Albion Police. All of us come together to make our dogs better. So it's kind of like a balancing act, because if you spend a lot of time working on detection, where my dog's really good at detection, then other categories start to drop. So you got to spend more time working on those. It's just, you're always balancing to keep the dog up to the best of its ability. So that being said, we do training on Wednesdays, and then even tonight I have 2 of my training aids set out right now. Training aids is just a fancy way for me to say I have replica narcotics set out for my dog to sniff, to show you how we would come into a room and look for contraband. I will document this as training. So that's what's pretty cool, is this will be about an hour's worth of training for the dog. Is I'll set it up, do my paperwork, and then I can reflect back if I was ever brought into court to testify that I continually train my dog. Every time I do a public demonstration, that's training the dog. Because if she's out here with me talking, then it's obedience training, because I'm asking her to be in a sitting, a heel position, or laying down. She's under my control at that point, so it's obedience. And then as soon as I transition over into working the dog, then that becomes narcotics. If I put Officer Santiago in a bite sleeve, it could be criminal apprehension training, where they're biting the bad guy. If I had one of you guys, I'm sure you'd all volunteer to walk out for a half a mile for me on this nice cold night and have Sasha track you, that would be tracking training. So anytime I do a public demonstration, I get an opportunity to show the dog while I'm working, or when I'm not working, it's always documented training for me. So we're always trying to get the dog to be better. So a lot of times I don't show as much bite work in public. One is I don't like the negative association with it. Today's society, that you see a lot of that looks bad. To some people, like, oh my God, that's awesome. They always come up to me, I watch Cops, that dog bit the bad guy, that's awesome. It's like, okay, I don't disagree with you. I'm not gonna come out and say that that's awesome myself, but statistically, we just don't do that often. When I get that dog out and she starts barking, So far in my career, in the last 6 years, I've had anyone surrender where I was close to sending that dog for a bite. So a lot of times their mouth is enough for the people to realize there's no rationing, you can't rationalize with a dog. So you can't talk to my dog and convince her not to bite you if I send her to bite you. Can't stop my dog from tracking you if I tell her to track. She's not just going to stop for whatever reason. So as I go through this, does anybody have any questions? Go ahead, man.
So did you actually train both dogs yourself?
Yes.
Through all of this,
Yes.
obedience and everything?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
A lot of work. I have, in addition to my 2 working dogs, if you live in the north end of the city where I do, I have 3 personal dogs, so I'm not probably loved by a lot of my neighbors. Because they can be a little vocal as you get 5 dogs together.
They're saying hi.
Yeah, exactly. But I keep a pretty good lid on it. But yeah, it's every day you do something. So say I take off, excuse me, I have a wedding or something to go to. That day I still have to do something with the dog. So there's truly never an off day because you're always working that dog. They have too much energy and intensity, you can't just leave them kenneled up. So even if I go out of town on vacation, there's really 2 people that I trust to watch my dog. Both people that watch the dog are the people that raised it where I got them from. So fun for me because 1 dog goes to Rochester, 1 dog goes to Bradford, PA. So, but those people I trust, they work that dog for me while I'm gone. That way, Amherst Boarding Kennel would probably be my 3rd option. Great kennel, they just don't get as much work because they have so many dogs. The dogs are typically kenneled. They might get 20 minutes there. Where at my house, they have yard time or we do some type of task. Typically, I like to track. So pretty much every day I'll set a track out for the dog. It's fun for them, it's exercise for them, and again, it's always training to make them better.
And that took, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Anybody else?
Okay.
And that took how long for you to train, say Sasha?
Sasha took, I would say 6 months to get her to certify by New York State standards, but in my opinion, that's just one test. That's all that is. That's not real life applications because it takes years to show a dog all the real life applications. I bring my dog in here, she hasn't been on a lot of glossy, slick floors. So she might walk onto the floor first and be like, oh, it might be funny to her as opposed to the carpet. Dogs learn in pictures, so you have to show them pictures. Every search warrant I do, I can't replicate some of the dilapidated buildings that I go into or some of, unfortunately, the dilapidated homes that deal drugs. I can't replicate a lot of that in training. So when you deploy a dog into that house for the first time on a search warrant and there's smells and food and really disgusting stuff, that distracts the dogs because they don't see that all the time. So they're more or less like, oh, what's all this stuff? And it's like, hang on, pull your focus back. We got to look for contraband. We're not going to sniff the random stuff. How I combat that in training is I'll bring in, I have 2 little ones, I'll bring in a dirty diaper. I'll say we use this room tonight for a true full canine training. I would set out Carter's dirty diaper or PJ's dirty diaper. I would take gym clothes that haven't been washed, laundry, towels. I would set that stuff out in here and make the dogs work past it and then keep them moving so they don't stop and show interest in that. Does that make sense? So you're kind of giving that dog a little bit of a sight picture of what they might see on a house that they're searching for. Now, I've searched houses that are pristine that deal drugs. So that's a lot easier for us when the house is super immaculate, but that's not always the case. So, good question. It's a lot of training. And then just when you get your dog perfect, where they're a rock star, guess what happens?
Failure.
Nope. Close. Retire. You retire them. Because you spend so much time, you know them in and out, you work them, they're good. They're pretty much, I bring them to the room, tell them to find dope. I don't have to do anything. They know the search pattern, they will literally just do it themselves. And then they get ready to retire at that point. So what I struggle with is, I worked a 9-year-old shepherd that knows the game, and then when I bring in Sasha, she's a puppy. She will let you know very much. She is a springy, jumping on me, drives me nuts, puppy. So you have to corral that. It's like working with your teenager that still loves you and listens to you, and then going back to the toddler that's a terror the whole time, and you're just trying to corral that toddler in, and get them to do something that you ask of them. Questions over here?
What does Stella do now that she's retired?
She just hangs out with me.
I mean, you keep her? You keep her.
Unfortunately, she's very dog aggressive, so I can't let her intermingle with my dogs. I've tried with my house dogs that she spent 5-6 years with now. she's okay because they know that this dog doesn't play. So if you put them out in the backyard, they all just mind their business. My 2 labs play together, and Stella just kind of does her own thing. I tried to let Sasha and Stella intermingle and kind of work out a little pack order. Sometimes if they're going to fight, it just is what it is. You let them kind of work it out and establish each other. Terrible. So I separated them, and I keep them separate. What's funny though is they're in my car right now, and if you walk by my car, unless they're barking at you, you would never know that Sasha loves dogs, so she has 0 issue. It's really, I love Stella, but it's definitely her issue. But they are peacefully quiet in the back of the car. They don't fight. Their kennels at night are right next to each other. They can see each other in there. I have cameras on them, so I'll watch the camera footage sometimes, and you'll see Sasha just kind of sniffing, wagging her tail, putting her paw in there, kind of poking at Stella to get her to play with her, and Stella just doesn't want it. She's just like, nope, I don't want any part of this stuff. So fortunately, with dogs, when you have issues like that, you'll never get rid of it. You can just minimize it. I minimized it with the labs. It might take 3 years to get her to be neutral enough where Sasha and her could run around the backyard and not bother each other, but Sasha loves dogs, so she's always going to solicit play, going up, horseplay with them. She doesn't want any part of that. So Stella will ride in my car, probably with the permission of the department, which I've had their blessing so far, probably right up until she passes, or else she sits in the kennel at my house and she doesn't get to do anything. She's just locked up all day, and then maybe she gets 20 minutes to run around in my backyard. So I could never do that disservice to her as she's had my back for so long. So she'll ride in that car with me because that's what she's used to doing. And then while I'm working Sasha, or a lot of times I'll cut over behind nights and I'll just throw the ball up to her. Gets her stretched out, gets her some exercise, and she just likes being in the car.
Well, she's with Dad.
Exactly, and that's all she's ever known.
Yeah.
So good question. Go ahead, sir.
The question that I needed to know, my best friend's friend wanted to know was, do you take these dogs sometimes to high schools or to college? And that was something that had never been brought up before because it hadn't been for a very long time, and they wanted to know, do you still do that often?
Yes, so I don't think I've been to, the only college I've been to is Niagara County, and that's for their the academy that they have set up there. So I've gone into the academy. I don't think I've spoken at a college level. I speak often at the high school. Paris, you'll see we get requests pretty often to have the dog come into the school. She's extremely sociable. Even Stella is sociable. I'll bring them into the school, but I can also come into school and do sweeps as well. So I can wear the hat of, hey, this is cool, we're fun, we can hang out with the dog. I can put my police hat back on and be, okay, well now we're sniffing the school for contraband. So it's good to do the demos with the kids to kind of bridge that gap. It's like, hey, every time the dog comes to school, it's not for something bad. We can have fun and stuff too, but understand we're professional and we'll do our job also, as best we can at the end of the day. So yes, we'll go to, I haven't been to college before, but I go to high school, elementary schools.
Well, you still go to college, but you would go to college, but not that often, right?
Yeah, if they ask me, I'll go wherever. Anytime people need a speaking engagement, they want to see a dog, I have no problem. It's a huge, I spoke about it in our interview back in October. I mean, it's a large, as much as I want her to be a Navy SEAL dog out there, it is a lot of community relation stuff because everybody loves dogs. And as I talked about before, as much as the pointy ears and the teeth scare people, dogs also bridge the gap between people. We might not all have a lot in common, but if you like dogs and I like dogs and I bring a dog in, we're probably having a positive conversation with them. So that's a huge benefit to that as well.
I'm curious, my daughter is a guide dog, and they say that they know, they tell you when they're ready to retire. Is that the case for you guys?
Yeah, I think it's on the handler to read their dog appropriately to tell what is their drive, what does their enthusiasm look like. Does it look like they're really forcing themselves through the exercise? My Stella, if I still take this ball out, she's gonna eat my hand. Like she is like, I still want to play ball. What I let her do, she's cool at her older ages. She will tell me when she's done playing ball. If I run her hard out in a field, when she's done, she just goes right to the car. I usually leave her door open. She just runs, jumps right up in the car, and she's like, okay, I'm good. I got my exercise in for the day, I'm happy. So yes, it's important to read your dog and not overlook it or try and force them out. You just gotta, when you know. You'll look at your dog, you'll watch their performance. Once it starts really to diminish, it's time to move on, unfortunately. It's just one of the hardest decisions.
Can dogs sniff out guns too, in addition to drugs and people?
Yes. So you can train a dog to pretty much sniff anything that has some type of odor or off gas. So my dog could detect a firearm off of human odor. So I trained the dog, I call it article search. Not me, I didn't dub that name. It's called article search. If you took your cell phone, your car keys, you threw it out in the grass, or you lost it. I've had friends call me for wedding rings, car keys. Those are the two things I pretty much get called for. So a buddy's just like, hey, can you help me out? So yes, within a reasonable amount of time, I'd say 1 to 2 days, depending on the weather. If you throw an article out there, the dog can sniff human odor. To them, it's just what puzzle piece out here doesn't fit. What's like giving some type of odor that doesn't blend in with anything else. They're always going to show interest. They do it naturally. Think about when you walk your dog and someone takes that can and throws it on the side, next to the sidewalk. It sticks out to them. They see that object, oh, what's that? I'm going to check it out. It's just when my dog does that, she's trained if it has fresh human odor on it, she's just going to lay down on it. So we just did this yesterday at Niagara University. We actually put a gun out there, so we try to train as realistic as we can. So it's not an operable firearm, it's a replica firearm. But we take it, we simulate someone running from the police and throwing a gun in the brush. And then I put my dog on a long line, I deploy her through there to search for it, and then she'll lay down on it when she wrapped that one up. So article search is a big thing, it's good for evidence. Someone robs a bank, and runs and throws stuff, throws the mask, throws gloves, throws the knife, throws the gun, that type of stuff, yeah, they can sniff it. If you operate with a bomb dog, now you could sniff a clean gun off of the gunpowder odor that's going to push out from the casing of the bullet. So that's how bomb dogs detect it. The only problem with that is if you have a bomb dog, you train the dog to detect bombs. So if the dog sits, is it sitting because there's a bomb here, or is it sitting because there's a gun here? So now you have to navigate as a handler, how do we want to address, what's the totality of the situation? Is the dog sitting on a backpack that was set near a concert? That's kind of weird. I'd probably treat that as a bomb. Is this a traffic stop and the dog sat on it and there's an illicit firearm in there? Or there's a legal pistol permit holder in there and they recently fired their gun. Different things to take into account when deploying that. ATF does actually have a trained firearms dog, but I believe they sent that dog off of your popular gun lubricants and solvents to clean the firearm is how they imprinted that dog. As gross as it sounds, there's dogs that are trained to detect bed bugs. It pays like $100 an hour. It's pretty lucrative. Probably not enough money for me to go in there. That stuff I would be itching the whole day. But yep, they bring dogs in. They can detect bed bugs. I work with a guy. He trained the dog to detect. It's David Lepsch from Kam K9 Sasha. His dogs detect water seepage from the canal. So I never knew any of this stuff about the canal, but they periodically send people out to check for leaks in the canal to see if it would flood the areas or however it works. I don't really know the specifics, but his dogs are trained on canal water. So in his fridge, he has little glass jars of various sections of canal water. And then you can set out clean tap water, pull it regular water. We call it proofing it off. You would set the clean water out. You would correct the dog off of that. So what I do is my dog doesn't sniff for marijuana. Periodically in training, we will set marijuana out to run the dog over it and make sure that they show zero interest in it. They treat marijuana just like this drink right here. It means nothing to them. So different things to think of. You can train them to detect a lot of different things.
How many things can they be trained for?
So you don't go too crazy. So the biggest one is you never cross-train bombs and explosives. They're always a separate avenue. So for Sasha, she's trained on 5 odors: cocaine, meth, heroin, ecstasy, and fentanyl. So those are her 5 odors. And human odor, I guess you could say 6. I probably wouldn't add anything else there. I mean, you could keep going, but at some point, you have to articulate if your dog sits, what are they sitting for? Or whatever your trained final response is. Maybe, and that means is when the dog finds what they're supposed to be looking for, do they sit, do they lay down, do they scratch at it, do they bark at it? If you put a lot of different stuff on the dog, what are they doing when they sit down on it? You have to be able to read all of that, so I would keep it limited to what I have the dog detect for me. Good question.
Yeah. You really are incredible, aren't they?
All
the things that
it's amazing. The stuff that they learn, both of those dogs, as soon as I come on Erie Avenue and get close to DPW and I'm pulling into Knights of Columbus, they go ballistic because they know that that's the spot that we run at. Church on Nash Road, they go nuts. pull into the high school in the back parking lot on the track when no one's out there, they go nuts because they know, like, oh, we always have fun in all of these various locations. So, pretty cool. Any other questions? Should I bring the dog in? And do the talking first, because once the dog comes in, nobody cares what happens.
Question, but it's not about the dog.
Sure.
Any chance that NT would offer a citizens police academy?
Great question.
Ever.
I would refer that to, what do you guys think? Captain Frank, probably in training, my boss? I would reach out to Captain Frank, or Lieutenant Iwaniki would also be a good liaison for that. I don't know if we've ever done one. I know Amherst does, Tonawanda does.
Tonawanda, yeah. I
Yeah.
attended there. It's phenomenal.
I would imagine it's not, I mean, we did a Peace Officer Academy. I would say nothing's impossible. I just don't know. It would need popularity, I think, for it to happen.
Right.
But they wouldn't know if you don't inquire about it. So if enough people inquire, it'll start to get traction.
All of us go inquire tomorrow.
There you go. You got your task for tonight.
What breed is that dog?
German Shepherd. So it's, when I had, we get her from the same place as Lewiston Police, Sydney, which is out of the Czech Republic. And K9 Shadow is Lewiston's K9, their dog, and jet black dog, and I just absolutely love the coloring because you don't see a lot of jet black German Shepherds. So you never, like, you don't pick canines by what do they look like. Are they long coat, short coat, pretty, not so pretty, whatever the case may be. You look at workability. We all have emotions, right? So I had always said, I go, if you guys could find another, if you came across a jet black German Shepherd when I'm ready, I would consider it. And then this dog became available, and I said, okay, probably have 30 different videos of it because it comes from overseas, so you can't do an in-person evaluation like you can if you go to vendors in the area. Shallow Creek would be one of the largest vendors in the area, so you can evaluate a dog just like you would drive a car. When you buy it from overseas, you really don't have that opportunity. You have to rely on video and trusted sources because nobody's going to video you the bad stuff. They're only going to make the dog look like a rock star. So you have to trust who you're buying, who you're purchasing the dog from. Right? Come. Can I say? Sydney. So our commands are in Czech, which is also complicated because for 5 years I did German commands with Stella. So if you ever watch me and I'm really under pressure, sometimes I'll resort back to German commands because I'm stressed, working whatever, so I might use the wrong command because I'm not thinking, I'm just resorting back to what we did the last 5 years. Sydney. So what we'll do is I'll run her around the room and show you how I would start Tico. So this would be the copy. Tico, Sydney. So dogs also understand tones of voice. Tico, Fui. If I just say Tico, no, Sasha. Probably not going to be quiet. You have to be, talk to your kids. You have to be quiet. Tico. You have to be stern and direct with them in order for them to be efficient and to do what you need to do. Okay.
Do you use those terms like the other language so that people can just tell her to sit?
So that's a good question. I always wondered the exact same thing. I said, why do we talk fully? Why do we talk the way that we do? A lot of times we just knock it off. Let me. I was also snowmobiling all day, so this is her first time out, so she's a little wired up. Normally I'd run her in a field, so we would come in, we'd look like we're 200% in obedience because she'd be a little bit tired, is a little pro tip we do. But tonight I'm like, I'm just going to pull her out, she'll be good to go. So you do it to minimize, knock it off, let me. To minimize the commands, let me, knock it off, knock it off. So that way if we're talking and I give a suspect commands, hey, you get on the ground, I don't want her laying on the ground.
Right.
I might want her to be doing something different. So it just tries to minimize confusion. Good girl, let me. So yes, so different commands, and her foundational commands were in Czech already. So if you got a green dog, brand new, no training, you could do Spanish. You could do, a lot of guys do English. It's not uncommon to do English, just use different terms. Not, normal terms, but, right? Ready? Throw it. Throw it. So what you're gonna watch is her body language. Watch what her nose is doing. Grab it. Yes. So what I just said was, I use marker training with detection because dogs cheat. So what you saw there is a conditioned final response. There's a fentanyl odor print right here. I think it's like, it would technically be the equivalent of about, I think it's 10 or 12 grams of fentanyl. It's like not real, it's a training aid, it's in a sealed thing, so that way we can't, neither one of us could get sick from it. But what I'm looking for is a dog to sit and stare at the source of odor. I don't want him to bite at it. I don't want him to scratch at it, right? Because if it's fentanyl or any type of powdery substance, I don't want it to become airborne because the dog breaks it open. Good job. So what dogs do is they get extremely smart. So when they start to know that the toy comes from the handler every time they sit on odor, they'll sit on odor and they'll stare at me. I don't want that. I need them to stare at the direct source of odor. So I use a marker system. As soon as she's staring at the source of the odor, I say yes. That lets her know that, yes, you found it and you can release to come and get your toy at this point, and we can do whatever from there. Old school with Stella, all I would do is give Margot a ball, give someone a ball. We'd have to be all like ninja-like and like throw the ball at it so the dog couldn't see where it's coming from, so the ball just appears when they find the source of odor. That's like the old school way of doing it. The problem is they see your reflection in the chair. They know what you're doing. They hear that sweeping if the ball comes out of my vest or that quick movement. So a lot of times, I might walk around as I'm letting the dog work it out. I try not to help her out at all, so that way when I'm doing a search warrant that might develop probable cause for a warrant or a search warrant, I'm not helping the dog in any way. I give her the command to find contraband, and I don't say anything. I just present. I might point to an area and have her check that, and then I say nothing else.
Is that all part of reinforcement and reward, or is that?
Just, it's a reward system. Yep, it's her reward system. For her, this is like the key to get her to overcome anything. If she's nervous on slick floors or dark stairwells, I throw the ball in there. She completely disregards any of that fear and anxiety, and she just goes to look for that ball. So that's a pretty easy way to pay her for her service. This is by far her favorite toy.
Is
Right.
it like real durable, and what is it made of?
Yeah, this one I would say it's not the hardest of them. Like, you don't want it to be like so ridiculously hard, but it's very dense. Like, they're not gonna collapse it or squish it. The only thing that could happen, I never leave it in the car with her. She's never unattended with this. Because it's a reward system, right? It'd be like the boss letting you write your own checks. What would be the efficiency in that, right? So I keep the ball with me. But she would chew the rope off if I probably left it in the car with her. She wouldn't be able to break the ball down, but she could chew the rope off. So, Sadie. Who's?
Does she get treats?
Bowie. Yes. So she does get treats. Knock it off. Sadie. She does get treats. It just depends what we're doing. Not all the time. I stop at the gas station at Walk-In National. One clerk there usually gives me 2 dog treats. That's probably the 2 most treats that they get in a weekly basis because I don't typically give the dogs treats. My personal dogs get them, but it's usually stuff to clean their teeth or for gut health or like something along those lines. It's not just random treats. But like Christmas, she got, something. I'm not totally cold-hearted with my dogs. They still get some stuff for Christmas, but you want them to just be, you want them to work and not jump on you the whole time. Right? We got work to do. You ready to go find more? Drive. All right, let's go find more. Drive it. So what's cool with this dog is, this is my 3rd find, but if she walked it, I wouldn't be totally upset. So that's a sealed Pelican case that has about 8 grams of cocaine in it still, or pseudo-cocaine. That goes to show you how sensitive her nose is. That still pushes enough, and it's in a glass jar that's sealed inside of this case, and still enough odor just pushed out for her to detect it and sit and alert on it. So that goes to show you the case that we got last time. Where is it? Yes. Up one. Good. There we go. So the package that we hit on last was in a sealed cardboard box that was all taped up and wrapped tight. And there's still enough odor that pushes out that the dogs can detect it. It's really difficult to mask contraband odor. Guys have used for anyone that's been around automotive in here, axle grease, gear oil, like really, really stinky stuff, and it still can't match the odor of the dog. The dogs can still detect that odor out of it and articulate, like their nose can still say, nope, yep, still here. Right? We got one more. One more. Okay. Sydney. Sasha. Post. Good girl. So, that post is her out command. That means release the toy. What we also train now is I can articulate that, knock it off. Sydney. Zustay. 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 I can train that we worked on the out. So a big thing when you send a dog in for a bite, you have to be able to get the dog some form of an out to get them to release from the bad guy. Every time she outs that toy cleanly, that replicates her outing on a bite suit, an exposed sleeve, or an individual if she apprehended it. So we're working up a whole multitude of things. Okay? Director? So did you guys all see that? That was like pretty obvious, what I would call as an articulable behavior change. Good girl, Sydney. Yes. So what you all saw there is exactly what I would look for when my dog's detecting stuff and how I would write that report up. Good dog. And that's, you watched her go by, sniff, 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 she stopped, closed her mouth, started detailing with her nose. I just pictured their nose as like a stylus. They will start looking in that area to find the specific source of the odor. Sniff you to check and see if, like, is it coming from you? No, it's not. It's underneath the garbage can. So you can see how they can also hone in on that direct spot that the source of the odor is coming from. Two quick things. Also, if you guys book me for future events, understand I'm extremely long-winded and I will talk all night when it comes to canine stuff or snowmobiles. So keep that in mind. That being said, if you would put a floor fan there, and it was behind there pushing the source of the odor out, it might pool in that corner of the room. So it wouldn't be uncommon for the dog to show interest over there because all that odor is being blown over there. The easiest way I describe it to people is leaves outside on the street. When you watch leaves blow around, that's like odor. So if leaves all start blowing one way, you can see that's the way that the odor's going. So when tracking, when you walk and when I'm tracking somebody, every time you walk, you leave little skin grafts. Different stuff falls off of your body. That's what the dog sniffs and tracks. On a windy day, it's more difficult to track you because as that stuff falls off, it blows it away, so it doesn't stick to the ground. So the best day for us to track, really, for somebody would be like kind of a dewy, damp day when that odor is going to be stuck into that wet grass or that wet pavement. When it comes to narcotics detection, we try to get upwind of that odor so the dog has a chance to take it to source. Because if that fan was blowing strong enough and I walk behind the garbage can, she might not smell it because none of that odor is pooling behind it. It's being blown the other way. So if I don't run her 360 degrees around that garbage can, she might not ever detect it. Right? Right, buddy? All right.
Good thing I didn't bring a piece of meat.
Does anybody have any questions? Nothing? No?
Fine demonstration.
Stuff? You're smuggling narcotics?
Yeah.
Right? Good job, buddy. Cool. So, if no one has any questions, I'm going to throw her up. I will come back for my beverage. So if you think of anything in the next 45 seconds, I will be right back.
Oh, hey, buddy.
Yes. Good girl. So